One thing that really grinds my gear is when I see people using lights like this as auxiliary lights for their cars, and then specifically for Highbeam. So you have those auxiliary lights turn on with your Highbeam. And in this video I want to talk to you why you definitely not should do this. So I get it that probably a lot of people get confused when they are looking for some lights, because there is limited knowledge and information of what you are buying, and that leads to customers not getting enough information to make the right choice. And one of the reasons why I think a lot of people choose lights like this is because they seem to be pretty high wattage. Even if this here is like 50 wattage, 50 watt, it's like the same as a halogen, and when you think of LEDs, these have a higher lumen, much higher lumen than a halogen, but that doesn't really help it. And also, since people see the LED and it's generally lights like these are a little bit more expensive than normal halogen lights, they think it's going to be a good choice, but it's not. You see, this is actually a work light, and of course it works perfectly as a work light because it's got a lot of floodlight, and you can also use it for like trails and such. And I know most Americans, when they are mounting lights like this on their cars, they are not even allowed to have them. They must be covered up when driving on normal roads, so they won't really use them as Highbeam. But in Highbeam is what most people, I think in Europe and also maybe Australia, is using them for. And then you want a long light beam. And with a light like this you don't get that at all. With these small reflectors here, and since the LEDs are not made for a light like this, you end up with very poor performance when looking for a driving beam. So this here would be the next step upwards. It doesn't really have a super long range, but it's comparable to a normal halogen light, but it gets a lot of more light spread also, even though it's get the same road range. And just as an example, look at the different reflector sizes that you have. Each of these ones are made for one LED, and that is how this light gets the light flow. With these small reflectors, they are not able to carry the light out the same way as a bigger reflector bowl would. Just look at the halogen light here. It got a really big reflector and it's only one light source, but this light source is not really bright, maybe around 1000 lumens, but because of the big reflector it can pick up all of the light and throw it where you want it. So you end up with much better performance out of this light than with this light, even though I would say this work light maybe have like 4 times the lumens. So here we have the test road that I will be testing these lights on. This road here is around 500 meters or 500 to 600 meters to the end there, and you can really see the passing car is getting really small in the end there. So if you get a light that can light up this road, you will definitely be much safer driving on the road than if you were to be just driving with your original lights. And the first test I'm going to do is with the 55 watt halogen light. It got like a driving beam pattern to it, so it's fairly long throw on it, and also a little bit wide, not wide, but it got a little bit of width to it as well. So here we see it, as you can see, it's just around 1000 lumen to 1200, and it's got a nice yellow look to it. I don't mind a yellow look on a Highbeam because you don't have Highbeams for looks anyway, but yeah. And you can see the performance is all good, and generally these lights are pretty cheap since Halogen is old and simple technology. And then we switch up to a more expensive Highbeam driving light. this here is a 120 watt LED light, and as you can see it got fairly big spread on it as well, and this is because the reflectors are not too big on this either, so but it's still big enough to get the throw out there. And here we have the cheaper light. Of course, good driving lights, LED driving lights are expensive, so if they are cheaper than halogen, they are definitely not made for the task. And as you can see, you end up with no throw at all, and this wouldn't really be outshining your low beam either, so you would just get too much light in front of your car, making it harder to see longer down the road. So this is the reason why I definitely would not recommend a light like this for a driving beam or high beam like this, and cheap LED bars, they also perform the same way, so keep that in mind.